started from Australia and then sailed Louisiades and then up around to
up to Kavieng to the north, and then hung a west at the top part of the big island to the Hermit Island in Indigo. And from there we went north to Palau. But this is the story of a time we almost lost our boat.
Yeah. The islands of Papua New Guinea are very remote. They get there's no airports, no commercial boats going to and from, and we were sailing in the area for 3 months and never saw another boat. So other than the local fishing boats.
It's called the Hermit Islands, but the main island where the only population is an island called Luff, and it's shaped like a barbell, where there's mountains on either side, but the people live in a little flat, narrow section. So if from our boat, if we climbed up the mast, you would see both sides of the island. So their elevation above sea level is inches, not feet. It's like inches. So people lived in this little area. And so on either side of that, you could anchor, depending on the weather. So we would, with the wind coming the right direction to blow us away from the land and they're surrounded by reefs. There's reefs everywhere. So
we came in, and it was too deep to anchor anywhere except really close to the reefs. But the local people, because they wanted boats to stop there, had put a rope tied to the reef down below and coming up to the surface just far enough away from the reef that you could use their rope their mooring ball to tie to. So you'd come and visit their village and not leave because there was no place to safely anchor. And we tied to this, and as long as the wind was blowing us away from the village, it was perfect. We were out over deep water. When the wind would shift, we would blow so close to the reef that...
Scary.
Yeah.
You could see, because you see when the reef, it's really light, because you can see it because there's barely any water over it, and you could see our boat going over the really shallow part. And so we decided the wind had changed, like, okay, let's just drop this mooring and we'll go around to the other side. But see, these islands aren't charted because nobody goes there. So one of the local guys, the guy that put the mooring in, his father put the mooring in, he was going to sail around to the other side and tell us how to get through this little narrow passageway that our chart showed wasn't deep enough to go through. He was going to show us a way, and then we'd anchor on the other side of the island. But when he came out, the wind was blowing, it was raining, it was pretty funky weather, and
it was blowing us towards the reef. So
on the reef.
We
Yeah.
were really worried about it. So we fired up the engine, and we were going to get out of there as fast as we could. And so I took the helm, Katie went up the front to...
I dropped the mooring.
Dropped the mooring line, and I started to go out, and with the wind blowing hard, all of a sudden...
Well, okay, this was my fault. Jim can't see where the mooring ball is with the big line connected to it, so I'm telling him which way to go, and I'm a little bad with left and right, port and starboard, then when you're turned around, it's backwards. So anyway, I told him to go the wrong way. And by the time I got, he's like, wait, go this way. So we ended up going right over the mooring line and caught it in the prop, got caught with the prop
and stopped the engine because it just stopped everything from running. And then we swung with no control towards the reef, and luckily this mooring line was big enough and was hooked in our prop well enough that it stopped us. So we're now bow first over the reef, another 10 feet, and we'll be on the reef, and we'll lose our boat on an island that may not get another visitor this year.
But luckily, the bow is the shallowest part of the boat, because underneath, the keel and the rudder are back away, not all over the reef yet. So Jim goes, drop the anchor, which it's still where the bow was. It's still like maybe 3 meters deep, 4 meters deep. But for it to turn around and catch us, we would have been on the reef. But that didn't matter. We dropped the anchor. So we dropped the anchor onto the reef, which you don't really want to do because there's it's a living organism.
That didn't matter because this mooring line was tangled so much in our prop that we weren't going onto the reef.
Yeah.
But I was pretty sure we were going to go onto the reef.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know if that mooring line would hold. It may come loose. It may break. Lots of things could happen.
Yeah.
But we knew, and the wind was getting stronger and stronger blowing, so we knew that it wasn't going to hold forever. And at some point, we would go on the reef and the boat would sink.
So we had to get that mooring line off for us to be able to go anywhere. So you tied another line. Explain how you did that.
I tied the line out to the mooring line beyond the boat, brought that up and hooked it around a winch and winched it in so that the mooring line would come looser tension around the prop. And that way maybe we could get it loose from the prop. But we, meaning Katie would dive under the boat and I would be directing stuff above. But the mooring line is a 2-inch diameter, 3-inch diameter line.
This is a big old sucker.
So it's not something that was going to be cut through very easy. So I'm in charge and I tell Katie to go overboard and fix it.
And I jumped over with my snorkel and mask and fins and knife, which didn't do a damn bit of good. I sawed it and it would just slide off the line. And so we had to get more slack because our prop, we didn't realize this was a benefit of the prop when we bought it. We've got a folding prop. And so you can manually open it, close it, change directions, which turned out to be a really cool thing for this. So I, with the slack, tried to unwrap it. And it turns out it wasn't a single wide line. It turns out there were 3 lines of varying thicknesses on this thing that I had to unwrap and just in and out. But when it's just this close, you can just snorkel and come in and out and up and down for water, for air.
It wasn't really that easy because the wind was getting stronger and the
Well, I
waves
was
were getting
bouncing.
stronger. We were
I was
bouncing up
bouncing.
and down.
Yeah.
And it was tied tight because when we tried to get away, I had started the engine at really fast speed to make sure we didn't go back on the reef. So the prop was going maximum speed when it caught that line.
It was a lot of wraps on that, on that prop. So I just had to slowly, methodically, I was able to cut the thin lines. So I could cut the thin lines and free those. And then just working it, opening it, turning it, twisting it. I finally got it off. And so we were held. Oh, but then when we got it off, I was like, we're close. Then what happens when we get it off? We lose our connection. So we were still tied by, it was one of our mooring lines that was the, what would you call that? The secondary line that was like
Now
setting
it
our
was,
boat.
once you got it off the prop, that was holding our boat.
Yeah. So what did we do then? I
You
forgot.
just took it off and
I
Herman
just
Island,
took it off. It took like
Herman
an
Island
hour.
still has this nice 10-meter blue line.
Oh, that's right, we
of
left
ours.
it there.
But we got it off. Katie came up. It took a lot of dives for this to work.
It took like an hour.
Yeah. And the wind during this time is just getting worse and worse. The man that was going to come on our boat finally came. He wasn't there during any of this time to help us. He finally came out in his little dugout canoe and said then he would take us around and show us the way between these islands so we could get to a safe anchorage. So we got it away from the reef and it worked. And we were safe out.
And his son paddled his dugout back to shore.
Yeah. And he came on and then we followed him. He told us where to go, and we're looking at our chart showing that we're going to hit ground all the time, but he is confident that it's not an issue.
We made it.
And we made
he
it.
was right.
And then we came around the north side of the village,
Yeah.
which the wind was coming from the south, so now we're going to be in a protected place. And everything over there is the same thing, super deep except for the reef. And he convinces us, which was against our better judgment, to anchor over the reef close to the village where it was shallow enough. And we had talked
We
to...
never, I mean, you don't want to anchor on a reef because it's
destroys
alive.
it,
You
yeah.
destroy it. And
Yeah.
these are absolutely pristine reefs because nobody goes there. They're absolutely gorgeous, pristine.
And your anchor gets stuck in them because it's a reef, so
Yeah.
the chain goes wrong. But we listened to him, so we anchored right there. And
But you don't want to offend. I mean, you're in his territory, and he wants you to do something, so it's hard. You know, we know we wouldn't normally do it, and we said no, we want to anchor out here, and he was very insistent. No, come in here, come in here, come in here. And he wanted us to go even further. And at some point, I was like, no, this is it. This is as far as we're going. And I'm going, we should go back. We should go back.
it's getting shallow
It's
too.
getting shallow, yeah. And we can see light, which means it's shallower in front of us. I'm like, this is it. We're going back. He goes, no, just drop it here. Except we dropped it.
Yeah. And in his defense, the reef's not going to get destroyed because it's not like a lot of boats
We're the
coming
only
every
boat
year.
there,
There may not be
yeah.
another boat anchored there for years. So
But we're going to destroy our little bit of it.
we were okay because we were anchored and the wind was blowing from the south and blowing our boat away from shore. So we were happy. We dodged this bullet. We were positive we were losing the boat, and we were safe. And then we the next day we go into the village,
Or 2 days later.
and they invite us to their church service on the village. So
And we make. They love like cakes and things. They love food that we can make because they don't. They have a certain amount of things they can make from their gardens, and that's it. So I made chocolate chip cookies and brought them in, and a big pot of rice because they don't even have rice. So I bought a big pot of rice and chocolate chip cookies for after the service, and they provide food. And we're just gonna have this feast. We're in the service. The breeze picks up, and I can look out the window. And you can see the wind change. You see the palm trees and the leaves just get stronger and stronger blowing in the wind the wrong direction for the boat. And I'm looking, and finally there was like a break in the service, and I went outside, and we're like next to our friend who's the like chief's daughter, so she's like, so we're trying to do everything right, like, and we're a little worried about the boat. And she goes, oh, go have a look. So I looked, and we're like turning towards the reef, and there's white caps out there. I'm like, we have to go. I'm really sorry. We have to go. We gotta go. So we run back to our dinghy, and we get back on the dinghy, and we're like over the white caps, splash, and get back to the dinghy, and the boat's like stern's almost on the reef again.
It was close. It was probably 5 feet away from the reef.
It was
with the
like
waves breaking right there.
It was like half a boat length.
Yeah, we're
5
gonna
meters, maybe.
lose our boat twice in the same island. And
so we climb on board, and it's even hard to get on the boat because the dinghy's going like this, the boat's going like this, and the waves again. And so we tie it on, we get on. Jim turns on the ignition immediately, and we are held there. I'll go down and look and see what the chain looks like, because it's obviously wrapped around. So he goes, it starts the boat and motors us off a little bit, and I put on my snorkeling gear and go over the side, and we're the chain just goes straight down into a reef, and it's stuck. You can tell we're stuck somewhere down there, but we don't know where. So we don't know if he drives around when it breaks loose, then what's going to happen. So, but I try to steer him because at least he's got an engine and we can stay off of it. Yeah, what happened then?
You guided me around, and it took a long time, but all of a sudden we were out.
I could see it, and I never could see the anchor, but I could like see when the chain would get a little slack, and he'd back up, and then he'd drive forward, but he was. And
she
so
stayed in the water and was
looking
down and giving me hand signals. And
yeah, but then we got far enough out and enough slack that in the line that I climbed on board, and then I could start bringing the chain up, because we hadn't brought the chain up then. And then we were just like, if it caught, we'd like try to go left, right, around. And finally the anchor came up, and we couldn't believe it. It came up, it was like, hey, let's get out of here. So we went back around to the other side, and in the center between the reefs around the island, it was like 35 meters deep, and we've got 100 meters of chain. Like, let's just drop it all right in the middle, not near any reef. So we dropped it all, and we stayed there that night, and we were in the middle, and we're like, oh my God, we could finally get a good night's sleep. We could finally get a good night's sleep. So, and then the wind changed directions again, and we're like, you know what, let's just get out of here.
Before we lose the boat for sure.
Yeah, so we started hauling up our anchor, which is 2 sizes bigger than what we really need for this size boat. And we have bigger, longer chain, which is heavy, which is also more than we need for this boat. So we're really well protected at that end. But we started hauling it straight up.
And normally when you're bringing up an anchor, the chain is laying on the bottom of the ground, and you're pulling up, so you're only lifting a small amount of chain. When it's hanging free for 35 meters, you're pulling it straight up at 100% of the weight. So our windlass overheats and stops working. And then we're out there with the anchor part way up, blowing towards the shore again. But at least we have an engine this time. And so then we had to rig a line from the top of the mast, the same one we used for pulling somebody up on the mast, and another line to the chain, and running it back to the winch, and slowly in 2-meter pieces, pull it up, retie it off, pull it up.
Yeah, Jim's up at the reef up at the bow doing that. And I'm driving around, and we've still got 20 meters of chain dragging below us as we're getting blown down on the reef, that we could catch that anchor on something, because it's not charted well. So there could be something 20 meters deep that we hook. So I'm trying to kind of stay in the middle, but getting blown down, and pulling in as he tells me to pull it in as we're doing these.
And we got the anchor up. We got everything stowed away. Took down our lines that were pulling up the anchor and headed out of the Hermit Islands as fast as we could leave. Still an incredible place because we met people that don't get visitors. We had a great time on this little teeny island, and we're off to even a more remote island in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
A little worried. But
Yeah. And then coming into the next island, well, we won't go there, but our alternator stopped right before we went into the reef. But that's a different story.
Jesus today, friend to Jesus always. Let us friend in every part of the world, from to the east and the west, from to the north and the south. Friend